I always trusted my best friend, Matt. We'd been friends since we were kids, and we had been through everything together. We had always talked about starting a business together, and we finally had a plan. We both saved up all our money, and we were ready to invest in a new venture. But one day when I went to check the account, I found it empty. I couldn't believe it. I had saved up all my money for this, and now it was gone. I immediately called Matt, but he didn't answer. I tried calling him again and again, but he still didn't answer. Finally, after a week of trying to get in touch with him, he called me back. I was relieved to hear his voice, but I knew something was wrong. "Hey, what's going on?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "I'm sorry, man. I had to use the money for something urgent. I'll pay you back as soon as possible," Matt said, sounding nervous. "What do you mean something urgent?" "That was all the money we had saved up for our business," I exclaimed, feeling my anger rising. I know. I messed up. But I'll make it up to you, I promise," he said, sounding desperate. But I didn't believe him. I knew that he had betrayed me, and I couldn't forgive him for that. "You stole from me, Matt. I trusted you, and you stole from me," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "I didn't mean to. I just had no other choice. Please forgive me," he pleaded. But it was too late. The damage had been done, and our friendship would never be the same again. After the phone call with Matt, I felt lost and alone. I couldn't believe that my best friend had betrayed me like that. But I wasn't going to give up. I knew that I had to find him and make him answer for what he had done. I tried calling Matt every day, but he never answered. I even went to his house, but he wasn't there. I asked his family and friends, but no one knew where he was. One day, I decided to drive around and see if I could find any clues. I went to all the places Matt liked to go and asked around, but no one had seen him. I felt like I was hitting a dead end. Just as I was about to give up, I got a call from a friend of a friend. He said that he had heard that Matt had been seen in a small town a few hours away. I felt a glimmer of hope and immediately got in my car to head there. When I arrived, I started asking around, trying to find anyone who had seen Matt. Finally, I found an old man who said he had seen Matt a few weeks ago. He pointed me to a cheap motel on the outskirts of town where Matt had been staying. I went to the motel and asked the receptionist if Matt was still staying there. She told me that he had checked out a few days ago and left no forwarding address. I felt my heart sink. I had come so close, but I had missed him. Just as I was about to leave, a man in the corner of the lobby caught my eye. He was wearing a leather jacket and looked like he'd been waiting for someone. I felt a strange feeling in my gut, and I decided to approach him. "Excuse me, do you know Matt?" I asked, trying to sound casual. The man looked at me for a moment before replying. "Who's asking?" "I'm his friend. I've been trying to get in touch with him, but he's disappeared. Do you know where he is?" I asked, feeling a glimmer of hope. The man looked at me for a moment before nodding. "I might know where he is, but it's not going to be easy to find him." "What do you mean?" I asked, feeling a sense of urgency. "He owes me some money, and he's been avoiding me. But I know he's in the next town over. I can take you there, but you're going to have to pay me," he said, his voice low. I knew it was a risk, but I didn't have any other options. I needed to find Matt, and this man might be my only chance. "How much do you want?" I asked, trying to sound confident. $500, he said, his eyes never leaving mine. I hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Fine, let's go." As we got into his car, I couldn't help but wonder what I was getting myself into. But I knew that I had to find Matt no matter what the cost. The man drove me to a small town on the outskirts of the city. He told me that he had heard from a friend that Matt was staying at a rundown motel on the other side of town. I thanked him and gave him the money, feeling a sense of relief that I was getting closer to finding Matt. I made my way to the motel, feeling nervous but determined. When I arrived, I went straight to the receptionist and asked if Matt was staying there. She hesitated for a moment before finally telling me that he had checked in a few days ago, but had already left. I felt a pang of disappointment, but I didn't give up. I asked the receptionist if she knew where he had gone, and she told me that he had mentioned something about a nearby bar. I thanked her and made my way to the bar, hoping that I would finally find Matt. When I arrived at the bar, I asked the bartender if he had seen Matt. He hesitated for a moment before finally nodding and pointing me to a table in the corner of the room. I approached the table feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Matt," I said, feeling my heart racing. Matt looked up at me, his eyes widening in surprise. I've been looking for you, Matt. You stole all my money, and I want it back, I said, my voice shaking with anger. I know. I messed up. I'm sorry, Matt said, looking down at the table. I trusted you, Matt. I thought we were in this together. But you betrayed me. Why did you do it? I asked, feeling a sense of betrayal. I had some debts to pay off, and I didn't know what else to do. I'm sorry, Matt said, sounding desperate. That's not good enough, Matt. You took advantage of me, and I can't forgive that, I said, my anger boiling over. Matt looked up at me, his eyes pleading. Please, I'll do anything to make it up to you. I'll pay you back, I swear, he said. But I knew that it was too late for apologies. Matt had betrayed me, and I couldn't forgive him for that. I stood up from the table, feeling a sense of anger and betrayal. I'm done, Matt. I can't be friends with someone who would do something like this, I said, turning to leave. But just as I was about to walk out of the bar, something caught my eye. I saw Matt's wallet on the table, and I knew that he was lying to me. He had more money than he was letting on, and I was going to find out why. I picked up Matt's wallet from the table and opened it. Inside, I found a large sum of cash, more than enough to cover what he had stolen from me. I couldn't believe that he had lied to me about being broke. What's this, Matt? You said you didn't have any money, but your wallet tells a different story, I said, holding up the wallet. Matt looked down, shame written all over his face. I was going to use that money to pay you back, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Save it, Matt. I don't want to hear any more lies. You stole from me, and now you're trying to buy your way out of it. That's not how it works, I said, feeling a mix of anger and disappointment. I know. I messed up, but please give me another chance. I promise I'll make it right, Matt said, his voice pleading. You had your chance, Matt. You had my trust, and you betrayed it. I can't forgive that, I said, my voice cold. Matt looked down, tears in his eyes. I understand. But as he turned to leave, I grabbed his arm. Wait, you're not getting away that easily, Matt. You stole from me, and now you're going to face the consequences, I said, my voice firm. What do you mean? Matt asked, looking confused. I mean that I'm going to take you to court. You're going to answer for what you've done, I said, feeling a sense of determination. Matt looked at me, fear in his eyes. You wouldn't do that to me, would you? He asked, his voice trembling. I have to, Matt. You left me with no other choice. You stole from me, and you have to answer for that, I said, my voice steady. Matt looked down, defeated. Okay, I understand. We left the bar and made our way to the courthouse, where I filed a lawsuit against Matt for theft and fraud. The trial was set for a few weeks later, and I knew that I had to be prepared to face him in court. I couldn't let him get away with what he had done to me. The day of the trial had arrived, and I was nervous but determined. I knew that I had a strong case against Matt, but I also knew that he was going to fight back. As we entered the courtroom, I saw him sitting on the other side, looking just as nervous as I was. The judge called us to order, and the trial began. I presented my evidence of Matt's theft and fraud, and he tried to deny it, but his lies quickly fell apart under cross. Mr. Johnson, you stand accused of theft and fraud. How do you plead? The judge asked, looking directly at Matt. I plead guilty, Your Honor, Matt said, his voice barely audible. I was shocked. I had expected him to put up a fight, to try and deny everything, but he had just admitted his guilt. Very well. In light of the defendant's guilty plea, I find him guilty of theft and fraud. Mr. Johnson, you are ordered to pay restitution to the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000, and you will serve 6 months in jail, the judge said, banging his gavel. I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I had finally gotten justice for what Matt had done to me. As we left the courtroom, Matt approached me. I'm sorry, man. It's too late for apologies, Matt. You had your chance to make things right, and you chose to steal from me instead. You're going to have to live with the consequences, I said, my voice cold. Matt looked down, defeated. I understand. I'll do my time and pay you back. I just hope that one day you can find it in your heart to forgive me, he said before turning and walking away. I watched him go, feeling a sense of sadness mixed with satisfaction. I had gotten my revenge, but at what cost? The betrayal of someone I had considered a friend had left a bitter taste in my mouth, one that would take a long time to fade away. The weeks after the trial were difficult for me. I felt a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, and betrayal. I had lost not only my money, but also a friend who I had thought was close to me. I tried to move on, but the thought of what Matt had done to me continued to haunt me. It wasn't until one day, a few weeks after the trial, that I received a letter in the mail that changed everything. It was from Matt, and it was a long letter of apology. He wrote about how he had made a mistake and how he had let his greed and selfishness get the best of him. He apologized for hurting me and for betraying my trust. He also wrote that he had paid me back in full and had started to turn his life around. I was skeptical at first, but as I read the letter, I could feel the sincerity in Matt's words. I decided to meet up with him to hear him out. We met at a cafe, and Matt looked different. "I'm sorry for everything, man," he said as soon as we sat down. "I know you are. I got your letter," I said, still feeling guarded. "I mean it, though. I was in a bad place, and I made some terrible decisions. But I'm trying to turn my life around. I'm working hard trying to make things right, and I wanted to apologize to you in person," he said, his eyes pleading for my forgiveness. I looked at him for a long moment, thinking about everything he had put me through. But then I remembered the good times we had shared, the laughter and the fun. I realized that I missed my friend. "I forgive you, Matt," I said finally, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. Matt's face lit up with gratitude. "Thank you so much, man. I promise I'll never do anything like that again." We talked for a while longer, catching up on what had happened in each other's lives since the trial. It was good to see Matt again, and I knew that our friendship could never be the same as it was before, but I was willing to give him another chance. As we said our goodbyes, I knew that I had made the right decision. Forgiving Matt had lifted a weight off my shoulders, and I could finally move on from the betrayal that had hurt me so deeply. In the months that followed my reconciliation with Matt, I found myself slowly letting go of the past and moving towards a new beginning. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when the memories of what had happened would still sting. But I was determined to move forward and rebuild my life. One day, as I was walking through the park, I received a phone call. It was Matt, and he sounded excited. "Hey man, what are you up to?" he asked. "Just taking a walk. What's up?" I replied, curious. "I've got a surprise for you. Can you come over to my place tonight?" he said, still sounding excited. "Sure, what's going on?" I asked, feeling a little apprehensive. "Trust me, you're going to love it. See you later," he said before hanging up. I wondered what Matt could possibly have in store for me, but I was curious enough to find out. That evening, I went over to his place, and when he opened the door, he was beaming. "Come on in," he said, ushering me into his living room. I looked around and noticed that everything was different. The room was brightly lit, and the walls were painted a warm shade of yellow. There were new pieces of furniture, and the place was decorated with artwork and plants. "This is amazing, Matt. What happened?" I asked, impressed. "Well, I decided to turn over a new leaf. I've been working hard, and I've started a new business," he said, smiling. "That's great, man. What kind of business?" I asked, genuinely curious. "I'm running a cleaning service. I know it's not glamorous, but it's honest work, and I'm making a living," he said, still beaming. "That's fantastic, Matt. I'm really happy for you," I said, genuinely pleased to see that he was making progress. "And I have one more surprise for you," he said, reaching for something on the table. He handed me an envelope, and when I opened it, I was surprised to see a plane ticket inside. "What's this for?" I asked, puzzled. "It's for you. I booked you a flight to Europe. I remember you telling me how much you wanted to travel, so I thought I'd help you out," he said, still grinning. I was speechless. Matt had not only paid me back, but he was also trying to make amends in every way he could. "Thank you, Matt. I don't know what to say," I said, feeling overwhelmed with gratitude. "Don't mention it. Just go and have an adventure. You deserve it," he said, his eyes shining with sincerity. As I left Matt's place that night, I knew that our friendship had come full circle. From the betrayal that had almost destroyed it, we had managed to rebuild something new and beautiful. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about the future.